What's up everyone, this is Donnie aka Elevated, and thank you for tuning in to another video here on Dota Alchemy. And before we hop into today's regularly scheduled content, which I think you guys are going to enjoy, just a quick shout out to Alchemy, who is sponsoring this video on behalf of their GM F1 gaming mouse and the G-Aim control center. We've worked with Alchemy in the past. They have a very cool, very affordable, great FPS MOBA gaming mouse. It has 5000 DPI. It's got variable DPI settings that you can customize with the G-Aim control center, and I use it on a daily basis at work. So if you want a little bit more information about the GM F1, be sure to check out the link in the description below. But now let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video, which is going to be talking about the 2 new heroes that are coming to Dota this fall. And if you've been living under a rock, there is sort of a tradition now where at TI, Valve will tease or even release new heroes. And generally, we've been getting 2 per year over the last couple of seasons. So in 2016, we got Underlord and Monkey King was announced as well. 2017, Dark Willow and Pangolier were teased and then released a little bit later. And then last TI in 2018, we had Grimstroke released immediately, followed by Mars, who was teased and then released slightly down the road. This year, we had 2 new heroes released to keep up with the tradition, and they are going to be coming this fall in what is called the Outlanders update. And those 2 Outlanders, those 2 new heroes, are called Snapfire and Void Spirit. And so we're gonna go ahead and talk a little bit about these heroes. We're gonna kind of try and theory craft what their abilities might be, what roles they might be good in, and just see how much we can figure out and pull from the 2 trailers, the teaser trailers, because there's been a little bit of a tradition of being able to see what the heroes might have in store for us by watching their trailers. And so I wanted to go back and look at some of the previous trailers that were announced at TI or shown at TI and see just how much information was actually packed into these short little introductory videos to the heroes. If we quickly look at the Grimstroke trailer, for example, we can see right off the bat that there is this sort of like splotch of ink that flies across the screen multiple times. Stroke of Fate is being shown in the trailer. We see his wife being turned into the spirit that Grimstroke throws. So that's 2 abilities already. We see as he flies in, he is ink swelled and he shows up and explodes, and then he goes ahead and throws out the Soulbind, and then Laguna Blades 2 heroes at once. So that just shows you, okay, this is what this ability does. It duplicates Laguna Blade, and of course that's like the most blatant display of his ability, but then you could see that throughout the entire trailer, all 4 of his abilities were teased. So that's example number 1. Example number 2 is Monkey King, and of course we see him running through the trees. That's cool. Then he goes ahead and uses a Boundless Strike to kill a bunch of creeps, jumps back up into the trees, so it's clear that he's going to be able to play in the trees, and then he turns into a bush. So we see Mischief also displayed here. And then of course at the very end, he's going to go ahead and use Wukong's command. So it shows basically all of his abilities once again. Pangolier is another great example. Of course, we see him being a sort of agile hero. He's, playing around with all of these creeps, fighting them. He disarms one, which is, of course, one of his mechanics from the passive. He swashbuckles behind the bristleback. And then, of course, he runs into a Rolling Thunder and then shield crashes as well. So just another great example of all of the abilities being demonstrated in this short trailer. So with that being said, let's go ahead and hop into the new trailers for these new heroes. And let's go ahead and look at Snapfire first. And this is really, really cool. I love that Valve is sort of giving us a little bit of look at the greater Dota world. This is a desert location, and we see the grandma, the Auntie Keen, cooking some cookies. And so I wanted to pause here on the cookies real quick because each one has a little bit of a hero face. That's cool. That might give us a little bit of insight about maybe they have hero-specific interactions. And then there's a flashback where she throws a cookie to the Invoker, who then uses it and uses Deafening Blast. Now, what does that tell us? Obviously, these cookies are going to be one of her abilities. We know that for a fact, because why else would they show it to us? So my theory is that the cookies, it's going to give your allied heroes a buff of some sort. And we did see Invoker use Deafening Blast there after getting the cookie. So I saw one theory that they give you like a level 25 talent, which is ridiculous. Invoker looked like he was, kind of beat up from fighting. He eats the cookie. Suddenly he uses his ability. So what is that? Clearly these cookies are, basket of snacks or whatever the ability will be called, is going to be what looks like a support buff. She's going to give a buff to a allied hero, probably a targeted ability that you cast on an allied hero, and then they get a buff of health and mana. Maybe they get, I don't know, cooldown reduction or something else in addition to that, but that's ability number one, definitely, 100%. All right, so what's the next ability going to be? Well, it's probably going to have to do a little bit with this guy, the lizard that she rides on. So she's definitely a mounted hero. We know that for sure. And here's kind of interesting. So the lizard goes and he eats a creep. Now, is this a devour ability? Is he going to be able to maybe eat creeps like Doom can for gold? Or is he going to maybe have to consume creeps to fuel something else, like Wraith King does with his Mortal Strike and Spawn Skeletons? Now she pulls out this triple-barreled shotgun and shoots Timbersaw when he tries to grab her cookies away, and that would indicate potentially could be an auto attack. It probably is an auto attack in my mind, just because it's sort of like a straightforward, she shoots him, and that's about it. We saw that in the other trailers, like the Monkey King one, he does attack creeps. The Pangolier one, he attacks creeps. So the auto attack could just be the gun. It also might be another ability, but my guess is that it's probably just her regular auto attack. So then she hops on the lizard after the Batrider steals her cookies and takes off after him in hot pursuit. I think that this really fast running lizard is probably going to have some sort of dash ability, because Valve has really been focusing a lot on mobility in the game lately. We've got lots of movement speed adjustments going on. We've had Monkey King introducing the ability to go on trees. We've had Pangolier with the vector targeting swashbuckle and rolling thunder abilities. Now Auntie Keen pulls out these crazy dual miniguns and starts shooting at the Batrider. And this looks like it could certainly be a ultimate because of how crazy it looks, but it also might just be some sort of like barrage style, rocket barrage style attack, similar to Gyrocopter. My first thought was that it was going to be her ultimate because it was like so hardcore, but then I looked at some of the other trailers and they always seem to follow the sequential thing where they show one ability, then the next ability, then the next ability, then the ultimate. Probably her ultimate is going to end up being the last ability that we see. So here it is. The lizard leaps over the chakram and he spits this big glob of molten fire onto the Timbersaw. And here's pretty interesting because it clings to the Timbersaw. It doesn't turn him into a fire. It doesn't set him on fire, but it clings to him and he runs into this cactus and falls down. And that's kind of important to me because what that says to me is that the ability that we just saw is a damage over time spell. It looks something, like a liquid fire that is applied to a unit and then it has an effect on them. It could be something like a Viper Strike. That's another DOT. That's an ultimate. And based on how Timbersaw reacts, he can't see. He runs into this cactus and falls over. I'm going to guess that it also applies some sort of debuff, whether it's a slow, whether it's some sort of disorientation, maybe like a fear, maybe some sort of disarm or something like that as well. So anyway, that's my theory on Snapfire. Probably going to be a support, and I'm really excited to try her out. Now, as hype as Snapfire is, I think that the announcement of the 4th spirit, the Void Spirit, is probably even more hype just because it's something that has been kind of rumored to be true. And here he is. Here's the Void Spirit. He's purple. He kind of looks like the Ember Spirit cosmetic that was released, the super rare one. And let's go ahead and take a look at what might be his abilities. So I think that this is Void Spirit's first ability. And he's walking through the void and he sees these after images of fights that have happened. I think that this is pretty telling. Usually these trailers start off introducing a couple of abilities right off the bat. So my guess is that this is going to be a passive, because he says, you know, there's nothing that escapes my notice in the void. I assume that he's probably going to have a passive that allows him to either detect things, maybe see stuff that happened in a location. Potentially, it could be something like, I know there's some games like Apex Legends has a character where you can like pick up clues of people were here and they did certain actions. So maybe if you walk into a jungle that was fog ward, you could see that there was a hero. Maybe you could see like Gyrocopter farmed this camp some time ago. That would be a completely new mechanic. I don't really know how that would be that useful necessarily, but it could be something interesting. It also could simply be something sort of like Void's Backtrack, where he, you know, has control over time or whatever and can avoid stuff that's going on. Maybe he can even freeze stuff. Maybe he can put people in stasis. Next, we're going to see him call up a void wormhole of some sort. And this is definitely going to be a mobility ability. Whether it's going to be a teleport, who knows? It could be another teleport introduced to the game, sort of like Nature's Prophet. That would be pretty powerful. Here he goes. He appears on the stage. That's pretty cool. This is very reminiscent of the Underlord, actually. When Underlord was revealed at TI6, he dark rifted onto the stage. So that's why I'm assuming that this is definitely a sort of relocating style of ability, because they did it before with the Underlord. Now, he looks pretty dope. I'm excited to play this hero. So now we see him summoning a weapon, and it's like a dual staff. Looks pretty cool. Kind of reminds me a little bit of like Dark Templars a little bit from StarCraft 2. And then he does a kata and ends with a big explosion. Boom, Void Spirit. He's announced. Didn't really demonstrate as much as the Snapfire trailer did, but we see that he has a weapon. Whether he summons it or not is going to be interesting. Maybe he doesn't have the weapon normally and has just like a regular attack, and then he has an ability that summons the weapon, and then he gets like damage buff or attack speed buff or something like that when he has it active. That's certainly possible. Didn't really see anything that would indicate an ultimate, or maybe this weapon is his ultimate. Maybe that would be pretty interesting if his ultimate was some sort of almost like Chemical Rage-esque thing where you press a button, suddenly you get like these new weapons, you do a lot more damage. That's definitely possible. But yeah, the entire kit really kind of reminds me of a agility carry. One of these sort of squishy, agi heroes that kind of falls into that assassin role. So maybe we're getting a support in Snapfire, maybe we're getting a carry in Void Spirit. Maybe I'm completely wrong. I don't know. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear what you guys think of these two new heroes. Which one are you excited to play? And what do you think their roles are going to be? What's going to be their main attribute? And what position are they going to be played in?